Hey everyone, I dressed up, obviously, right? Wore my best gray sweater. I always forget when things are like fancy or, like this is like Christmas themed, so I could have worn a red or green something. But I just phone it in wardrobe wise. Phone it in wardrobe wise. Let this do all the heavy lifting. Oh, hey everyone. Hey camera one. Hey camera two. We're going to have a great time. I'm Kyle Bottom. Matt, it's great to see you. Long time. We know each other from way back. How'd you wind up here? What? Oh, you know Shirley. Never mind. He's pretty stoned right now. He's like, the TV's talking. Speaking of the TV, this thing is giving off zero warmth. That's not true. It's warming my soul. Oh, it's almost Christmas time. That's a magical time of year, right? I have a small family. I have a wife and a dog, right? That's us. That's us. We're one of those gross couples. We treat our dog like our child. Like our dog is our fucking baby. He's 15 pounds. He's perfect. He sleeps in the bed. That's right. Not on the bed. He sleeps under the covers like a champion. My dog is this little gross donut who just loves being in a Dutch oven, right? Just all night long farting under the comforter. And he's just cuddled up down there like, this is the best. My dog is a small dog. He's a 15-pound dog because I've never owned a dog before. And that was a compromise for me, right? I don't want some big-ass dog emasculating me all over town, right? I don't need some big dog dragging me around town like some German shepherd. And I'm just like, stop, Zeus, right? My dog's 15 pounds. If he's misbehaving, I just scoop him up under my arm and I'm like, we're going home. Yeah, he's a mixed breed because we adopted him. We didn't shop for him. He is a mix of a Chihuahua and a Jack Russell Terrier. And if you can't exactly picture what that looks like in your head, he's got a beautiful Chihuahua face. And then he has like a large, muscular body. Right? Like he's got like a big chest. He's got huge quads. Right? He's always pretty cocky about it. Like... my dog looks like if there was a Chihuahuas only Olympics, my dog would be submitted by the Russians, right? They'd be like, yes, he's regular Chihuahua. Right? And then the first event starts and he's just ripping throats out left and right. One more gold for Egore. My favorite part of that joke is that the dog's name is Egore. That is what we named him. I wrote that joke after the fact. I work at a bar part-time, and I was IDing these guys that came into the bar, and they were Russian, and one of them was named Egore, and I started to chuckle to myself, and I was like, I better explain why I'm laughing, and I was like, it's just funny because my dog's name is Egore, and then the Russian guy was like, what a weird thing to say. Right? Yeah, everything they say just sounds mildly threatening. Oh, the Ruskies. Here we are, gang. Oh, it's almost Christmas. I'm super excited. I went back to school in September, so I've been a full-time student for like the last 3 months, and I'm ready for this shit to end. Oh, bring me some peace. I go to BCIT. I'm taking the radio program because I got this sweet-ass voice, right? I just want to use this for a living. Coming up next. That'll be me in a couple years. I'm a full-time student there, and my least favorite class in the radio program is yoga. Yeah, that's right. You heard that correct. They're making me take a yoga class for the radio program. And the logic behind it is like it's a theater school thing. It's all about unlocking your natural breathing and freeing your natural voice. And I've been out of school for 18 years at this point. I've been using this voice the entire time. It's working out pretty well. And I have not exercised since it became optional in high school. Remember at the end of grade 11, they're like, hey, you don't actually have to take gym next year. I was like, peace, see you at the grave. And now I'm taking this fucking yoga class where they want me to do yoga moves, and it's not working out for me. Because you know how they say that sitting is the new smoking? Well, have you heard that? Sitting is the new smoking? That's a thing people say? I sit like 2 packs a day. I am not into the bending part of it. That's the cool thing about being an older student, though. I'm 36, so like my instructors are only a few years older than me. So I just like, if I didn't like yoga, so I just went to my teacher during office hours and I was like, hey, I don't want to do this yoga thing. She was like, cool. So I don't actually go to yoga anymore. I stopped after like 3 weeks. Feels great. I just sleep in. That's my downward dog. Just kidding. That's a throwback to Dave Harris, who was on stage earlier, the nervous guy. He said, just kidding, after about everything he said. He's like, I like butts. Just kidding. Oh. What a cute little weirdo for all of us. Oh, it's fun being in Vancouver now that weed is legalized. Finally. Well, finally we can buy it at a store. Ugh, finally they lifted the embargo. For anyone watching at home, that's funny because we've been buying it at the store for like the last 4 or 5 years. It's been great. We're living in the fucking future over here. Vancouver was to marijuana what Japan is to technology, right? Like we were just like living in the year 2020. Use your debit card. I worked at a weed store for a little while, like right after my wife and I got engaged. I had to get a job, right? I couldn't just be like a semi-unemployed piece of shit anymore. And I had to get a job, so I went and applied at a weed store because they're always looking for people, right? You walk into a weed store with a resume, they're like, you want to work here? Can you talk and move your hands at the same time? Right? And I don't know about you, but I'm like, I hear that, I'm like, is that a challenge? Right? I'm like, can I? Look at me go. Said my hands are moving and my lips are grooving. And they're like, you're hired. No, you're the manager. I was not the manager. I was definitely the oldest person who worked there, but I was not the manager. Right? Like people would come in to like do like plumbing jobs. Like people would come in to fix the sink in the break room and they'd come to tell me about it. And I'm like trying to like sell drugs to people. And I'm like, no. That half-naked woman is the manager. Very loose dress code at a weed store. They're like, wear whatever you want. Wear whatever you want. It was basically, and this is not to disparage against women. Women are great and equal. But if you could break down the women that work at a weed store into 2 groups. Ones that don't wear bras and ones that only wear bras. All right? Like it's bra or shirt. You make that choice when you leave the house in the morning. I remember the first time I worked with a woman who was just wearing a bra, I was like, where do my eyes go? Like, how do I talk? Oh, sexism. I liked being the old guy at the weed store. It was pretty fun. Like I said earlier, I'm 36. Probably the next oldest person who worked there was 21. So I had a good like 15-year age gap on these youngins. And I knew that I was the old guy, right? Like we would open up the store in the morning and all the young people would just like get right to work, right? They just zip off around the store, like weighing things, like calibrating the scales, turning on all the lights and computers. And I would just kind of like slink off into a corner and start like pretending to clean, right? You're like, oh, we missed this last night. Just wipe down a wall. And I would use this time to listen in and observe young people and how they talk, right? Learn their slang. That's how you infiltrate their culture. And so I'd be like cleaning the wall, and I hear the young people say things like, oh, that's lit, that's so lit. And I'd be like, okay, lit means cool. Learning something every day. Next time I want to say cool daddy-o, I'll say lit daddy-o. Best part of being the old guy there was it afforded me some responsibilities. Like they let me run the front desk at the weed store because I was old and responsible looking. And running the front desk at the weed store is a clutch job because you get to sit all day long. Your only job is to like answer the phone and respond to emails. But at a weed store, you're also encouraged to get high all day long. They're like, hey, smoke weed before work and during. Nothing matters. Right, so I'd get in that booth all high in the morning, respond to emails, and that's a productivity waster right there. When you're sober and you're responding to emails, you're like, time is money. When you're high and responding to emails, you're like, one finger at a time, baby. Don't stress yourself, might mess yourself. Right? Tortoise in the hare, we know who wins this race. It would get even worse when people would call up. People would call the weed store with a very simple question. They'd call up and be like, hey, what kind of weed do you have right now? And I'd get all paranoid, and I'd be like, why? And they'd be like, because I want to know. And I'd be like, it's online. And they'd be like, I don't have data. I'm away from the house. And I'd be like, fuck you, narc. Right? Just hang up on them. That's how they get you. Best part of that front desk, though, and this is a thing that we will lose now that marijuana has been legalized, is that in the last couple of years in Vancouver, it's been a gray market for marijuana, right? Like not quite legit, not quite black market. So every weed store in Vancouver had a different process for signing up. Like some places you just had to show ID. Some places you needed a doctor's note. Some places just a little bit of paperwork. I worked at one of these places that you just had to fill out a little bit of paperwork, right? You just like go in, you would just like write down your name and your phone number and then any medical word, right? Any medical word that crosses your mind, right? You're just like toes. And then the doctor, wink, wink, is like, you're going to need some weed for those toes. That's how complicated it was. And still some people struggled with it. Like I remember I was helping this lady sign up once, and under medical condition, she wrote none. Like, way to brag, right? I was like, you could just leave it blank if there's nothing wrong. And I had to be like, no, 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 no. And I slid her an eraser across the counter. I was like, you have to write something there. And then she got all smart with me. She was like, well, you know, anyone could just say they have a medical condition. And I was like, I'm literally asking you to do that right now. Like, did she think she was pulling the wool off my eyes? Like, I've worked there for 6 months. That's never occurred to me. Can you imagine she says that and it just rocks my world? She says it, I'm just like, you mean people would lie about this? Then this isn't a medical facility at all. This is just some house of drugs. Start smacking people's weed out of their hands. I told my mom I was basically a pharmacist. Anyways, Merry Christmas, you guys. Thanks for having me.